Governance can be a four-letter word in some places, right? I think it's really important to establish that up front. You want to establish the norms, the rules of behavior, how you really want to interact with this technology, especially if it's new. But it's very important that we do that in a very open and collaborative way. That goes from what I'm all the way down in the trenches here in the technology layer, the infrastructure layer. Normally, you don't talk about governance there. Usually governance is applied to you. What I did was a very active, let's reverse that approach. We're building something new. Let me bring the people from headquarters down into where we're operating an engineering service and saying, how do you want us to represent your governance? We want to build that right into the framework that we're having, not bolted on, not put a layer on top, but it's infused into that experience. There was a couple trends that happened during this. There was a zero trust movement. We have a goal of 2027 to be zero trust compliant. That was a piece of governance that is really technical in nature, but it actually transcends into governance on data security and interoperability. You also have the AI revolution, and that is a very evolving situation. So every single year, we basically have to look at our governance rules and basically scratch them out and rewrite them again in order to keep pace with how the commercial industry is moving and simultaneously how fast the government is moving. We've been starting with, I would say, unauthorized AI applications. They became unauthorized, and now we're replacing them with very much authorized systems. A great example of that is the introduction of GenAI.mil. It's an interesting philosophical question. If some other entity deploys a capability like that, can you just immediately start using it? What's the ATO rules on that? What is the ability for us to share these experiences between components? Because typical deployment has been, I'm deploying it for myself. I'm building a Coast Guard service, or I'm building an Army service, or whatever that is. But now we're building these transcendent services that are going across all manner of lines. I really like what's happening is that that's being attached with the rules of behavior and saying, I want you to use this. This is a safe place. I don't want you to put your stuff in the unsafe place. I think we're having this great trade-off between capability and governance that's happening right now, and we're on board with that train. We released a bunch of rules of behavior, ways of interacting with AI, the authorized services. The Coast Guard has been on the forefront of doing that. Our Chief Data and AI Officer has been keeping pace with that movement, which is really exciting. On the other side of the coin, when you talk about data governance, we build the infrastructure for data governance. I always say to our customers, I don't really care what your data is. It's ones and zeros to me. It could be completely encrypted. It really doesn't matter to me. What I want is to make sure the rules of ingest and egress in my system are in place and comply with your requirements. Because at the end of the day, you're responsible for your data. There's a data steward, data owner.